Hey y'all, welcome back to Movement Link. Sorry, I'm in the gym and I've been working out, so you're gonna have to pause my nasty nature. But as I was working out, I started kind of thinking about this, and so wanted to turn the camera on and give you a quick insight into what you might recognize as CrossFit, and it actually came from Dynamax, the medicine ball equipment company, and they borrowed it. But basically, the 10 general physical skills that we hear us talk about all the time. And so a common mistake, and this is what I wanted to talk to y'all about, a common misconception, I should say, not a mistake, is people thinking that to develop all of these things evenly, which is what we're trying to do, we need to train all of these things evenly. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about is just how different these things are and how training for these things are so completely different. So we can't just work on all of these things evenly and in the same way, just because that's just not how it works. So our ultimate goal is through our training, through what we do all year, to develop kind of evenness and balance between all of these things. And then if you want to specialize in something, you're able to kind of pop that on top of it. And then that way we're working on plug-in holes and weaknesses and allowing you to bias and specialize in things if that's kind of what you're looking for. But the main things here is we kind of just look at the list is strength takes a really, really long time to develop. It's way different than almost everything else on the list. Flexibility might be a close second in there, but strength takes such a long time to develop. So one of my favorite quotes is, I wish I knew who said this, but it was a high-level elite Olympic weightlifter, and an interviewer asked him how you get strong, and he just said, you lift something heavy every week for 20 years. So the key to strength is we need to be consistently putting your body under stresses at certain intensities, like 65% and above, at certain intensities, consistently, week in, week out, and you can have a few off weeks and deload weeks and stuff like that here and there, but consistently over time, every now and then we need to be introducing heavy loads to your body in different ways. Speed and power, these are a little bit different, because speed and power can only be developed when we're able to give 90% or plus effort. So if we do a really long, slow distance run or a really hard metabolic conditioning WOD or whatever we're doing, if we then try and work on speed and power afterwards, we're not actually going to bump up our speed and power. That doesn't mean it doesn't have its time and place to work on doing speed and power things after fatiguing efforts. It just means we're not going to be bumping those up. We're just going to be making ourselves more usable. We talk about this kind of concept in our macro cycles of programming, and as we have a mesocycle of hypertrophy and strength and peaking, how we develop skills kind of generally, and then as we go, we get more and more specific, making our bodies more and more and more usable. So if we're developing the top end of these things, we need to be doing them when we're fresh, but that doesn't mean we don't need to be able to use it when we're out of breath. But these are considerations we need to make when we're in our training. Endurance and stamina, these actually develop extremely easily when we're focusing in on all of this. So think about what just the weightlifting session looks like. We're going to come in, especially in a CrossFit gym, we're going to come in, we're going to get warmed up. So our heart rate is a little bit elevated. We're going to start doing a barbell warm up. We're going to start doing some sets. On every set we do, it kind of pumps our heart rate up, and then during our rest period, it comes back down. As we do accessory work, that kind of happens if we're doing a Metcon. So almost every single day we're coming into the gym, for the most part, we have an elevated heart rate for an entire hour. Most classes are an hour. That's why I'm saying an hour. So we've got an elevated heart rate. So we've got long, slow cardio going every single time we come into the gym, every class for an hour, regardless of if the session is going to be primarily strength-based or speed power-based, or if it's a long, slow one where it is a cardio workout or so on. So for the long, slow distance, not only do these anaerobic, short, intense 2 to 20 minute workouts have such a huge carryover and benefit for longer, slower stuff. Just in general, even when we're not getting out of breath, that elevated heart rate has so much carryover. So the endurance and stamina piece of this actually kind of develops really easily, and we need less specific attention brought to it than we do a lot of these other things, just because of the nature of how we train the other things. It has so much carryover into these things. So a common misconception we see is people, especially CrossFitters, are trying to improve their endurance, and then they completely cut out a lot of this stuff and they go on like a running program or something like that, which is going to improve their endurance, but they don't realize that they're cutting out a bunch of things that are already going to be improving their endurance. So what we see so consistently in the gym is that our style of training, where we're trying to make this all-around athlete, makes really, really good endurance athletes also. And then if you want to specialize on top of it, it's just about adding in and kind of replacing a few of the right things. It's not about taking a 100-degree turn and just going directly into that path. So something to keep in mind. Other things, agility, coordination, balance, accuracy, these things are kind of more skill related. So these are developed more with practice and really hyper-focused practice. So what we have found to work really, really well is, and this is the good news for you, is we don't need to work on double unders every day to keep them. What we need to do is we need to go on these little 2, 3, 4 week, just we'll call them mini cycles of skill work. Handstands, where multiple times a week, if we could do it every single day, you would be incredible. But even if you're just doing it 2, 3 times a week for 2 to 6 weeks in a row, if we're working on these skills like handstands, working on accuracy or agility, working on double unders, working on the skill with the barbell, maybe improving a snatch or clean, it is incredible how fast that skill can come up. But also it's incredible how when we stop working on it that much and we just touch in on it every couple times a week, maybe every week and a half, something like that, it's incredible how much of that skill hangs around. And again, I'm not talking about world-class, elite-level skill. You got to be doing that stuff all the time. I'm talking about being very, very good, being advanced in the snatch, clean and jerk, double under, handstand, all of these things. It just takes these short little dedicated mini cycles of dedication, and then you just hang on to it by touching it every now and then. We do that just normal in classes and in the way we work out, and then maybe a really short, intense mini cycle again later on. And it's when you get into the weeds of these things that you really start seeing and making these connections that stick around long term. And if we're just trying to develop these skills by touching it every now and then, we're never going to get into the weeds enough to make that progress. But the good news is when we do that, the progress sticks around. And then we've got flexibility. This just, like strength, it's just consistent. 5-10 minutes a day will get you there. And it's just amazing how very few people are putting in 5 to 10 minutes a day. So main thing, and I'm sure there's 1,000 more things I wanted to say that I completely left out. But the main picture I wanted to paint here is that to make an all-around athlete that we're trying to make, a real functional athlete that's capable of anything, we want to develop all of these areas for that athlete. But to develop those areas, it doesn't mean working on these things evenly, and it doesn't mean working on these things in the exact same way. All of these things are developed very, very differently, and so your program needs to take that into account. And if we're just doing this type of thing on a strength thing here, and then a cardio thing here, and then that's not how we develop this stuff. We need a bigger plan in place. But the good news is a lot of these things work on each other and help each other out. And so when we've got that full picture and we're kind of just pushing it along consistently, the equal and balanced results we get are absolutely incredible. I hope this helps. I hope this didn't confuse you too much. But we'll have more conversations about each of these things on this channel. So stay tuned. Talk to y'all soon.